Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk to you about a book. It says at the end of this book that if you've stuck around and read the whole thing, it tells me something about you. It tells me that you want to become more, you want to do more, you want to contribute more, and you just want to be more. And if that's true about you and you stick around for this whole video, then it tells me something about you, that you're the kind of people that I want subscribing to my channel and being in my community. And that's why I started this channel, to build my community of people out there like me that want to progress with me. And so I hope that you do this journey along with me, this miracle morning routine and other things to come on my channel. So please subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll be notified of new videos. Keep watching to hear more about this book, The Miracle Morning for Parents and Families. The whole premise of the book is that there are 6 things that you should do in the morning called savers. Now, for parents and families, it wants you to wake up 1 hour before your children to get this started. So for me, that's about 5 o'clock most days. Although it says somewhere near the middle of the book that the most important thing is to be flexible. So it says if you have children under 2 years old, they will most likely wake up with you or right after you. And so you need to be flexible. You need to just stick with it and keep trying to do it and know that this too shall pass. If you have trouble, or you think you're going to have trouble waking up before your children, then it suggests 5 things that you can do in the first 5 minutes of when you wake up, in order to make sure you wake up. Those 5 things are: first, to set your intentions before bed, to remind yourself of your goals and why you're doing this miracle morning routine. So for me, that's to give myself that me time in the morning, I think is important. I struggle a lot with balance in motherhood. I struggle with putting myself first, giving myself me time. In fact, most of my days, I feel like, have been spent trying to sort of catch up, clean enough, cook enough, do enough so that I can have that me time. And it's never enough. I never get there. And so I have to purposely schedule it and purposely put it in my day. Number 2 is put the alarm clock across the room. Number 3 is to brush your teeth. Number 4 is to drink a full glass of water. Number 5 is to jump in the shower. Jumping into the 6 savers. The first one is silence. You can do meditation, it suggests. It gives you a bunch of different apps and ways you could do guided meditations if you're not used to meditation. I do a little bit of meditation, but I mostly use this silence time for prayer and for pondering. A is for affirmations. And this book suggests you're basically saying your goals out loud. It gives you an example. It says, I am 100% committed to being healthy, so that I can have the energy to be the best mom I can be. So that's like one of the affirmations you could do. I've come up with 5 affirmations. So the next part is the V, the visualize. It wants you to think about not the result of your goal, because then you're going to feel good about it. You're going to feel like almost like you've already accomplished it, and you're not going to be as motivated to finish it. So it wants you to visualize the steps that you're going to take to accomplish that goal. So the fourth thing is exercise. E for exercise. And for this, it wants you to just do a brief exercise as part of your savers routine. So this is 60 seconds to 5 minutes. It recommends later on in the book that you should exercise 3 to 4 times a week for at least 30 minutes. There's lots of things on Pinterest that just have like quick 60-second workouts and whatever that you can find. The next one is reading. It recommends reading 10 pages a day. I do the scripture reading, and then I read some other book as well. So the last thing is scribbling. And so this can be your journal, or I'm working on a bullet journal right now. I also do this after I read the scriptures. I'm taking a few notes. That's the S for the end of savers. So that's the 6 steps that it wants you to take in order to do your miracle morning routine. So that's pretty much all you need to know. The rest of this is just bonus. So the rest of the book is parenting tips and parenting principles. So the first one is self-leadership. So it gives you parenting principles first. And so there's 3 of those, I believe. Yes, 3 parenting principles. So the first one is self-leadership. So it talks about things in here like take 100% responsibility for your actions, become financially free, so be free of debt, put fitness first. That's a huge one for me that I need to work on. Put fitness first because it's so hard. Oh, that's something I'm going to be working on for sure. Systemize your world. So it talks a lot about schedules in each of the different sections here. The schedules are so important for kids and routines are so important. I'm not a schedule person. I'm a spontaneous person, but my husband is very much a schedule person. So for example, I used to just let my kids graze all day. I used to let them eat whenever they asked, whenever they were hungry. But it was driving me a bit nuts because I felt like I was always preparing food and in the kitchen. And so I read this blog post from this girl named Kate Surfs, and she said, sometimes the kitchen is closed. And I thought, I'm going to do a schedule for them for eating. So I do breakfast, snack, lunch on a schedule. And that has gone so well. And the next thing is energy engineering. That's the next principle it talks about. That just talks about eating well, sleeping well, which again, you could do you could read a whole separate book on, or, work on that as a whole separate huge goal. The third thing is unwavering focus. So clearing up clutter in your home, figuring out what you need to do more of. So there's a section in it that lists some things that are important in most people's lives. And so it says, stop right now and plan one of these things. And so one of these things for me that I chose to do, it was a date night. My husband and I are terrible at taking time and going on dates. We just always say, oh, it's too hard to find a sitter, or, it's too much work when we're already so overwhelmed and exhausted. It's just so much energy to put in. But our marriage should be the number one thing that we are working on above anything else. And so it is so important. So I realized I have to take charge of that. I have to plan these date nights, and they have to be, relatively inexpensive because we have a small budget for it, but not a large budget. And so we're students. He's a student and I'm a stay-at-home mom. So there's no extravagant dates here. So let me know, guys, if you know any cheap date ideas. Please leave those in the comments below, because I would love to check those out. I'm always looking on blogs and stuff, trying to find ideas, but it's tricky. It's difficult. The next part of the book is parenting skills. And so these skills, I think there's 3 of those as well. I don't know. We'll have to see. It'll be a fun surprise. But the first one is purposeful parenting. And so it talks about basically directing events, again, with a schedule, which I talked about. It's very important. And so it also talks about, if you're into that vision board type of thing, it talks about creating a vision for your family, where you see them in 5 to 10 years, just to help you set goals that are good and important to you. I really like this quote that it says in the book. It says, you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. It's true. And it says, are you thinking about the people that you purposely surround your children with? Like, are these people that you want your children to be like, right? You want to have good role models for your children to so that's what you should be thinking about, and I loved that. And it also talks about, it has these sections, these parenting principles or skills, and then it has a parenting profile, it's called, which is sort of like a little interview with different parents. And there's little snippets in there that you can get good things out of, but I got this one out of it that I really liked. I'm always looking for gentler discipline ideas, because my husband is more of like an authoritarian, disciplinarian type of thing, which I grew up with and did not work for me. Like, I really struggled with this control sort of discipline. And so I knew I didn't want that for my children. And so I'm always looking for more gentle things. In fact, often I go like too far. I'm not into like not disciplining them or punishing them. But I am into, just, I don't know, not control, like giving them as much choice as possible. And so this woman talked about, she was having trouble with the big sister hitting the little brother. And she said, I would do it. Actually, I don't think it was as harsh as hitting. It was something minor. It was like taking a toy or something. And she said, when she did it, I would make her say, I am kind 7 times. And that, put it in her head is sort of like an affirmation, right? Like, she's saying, I am kind. And she is kind. All kids are innocent and pure. And they are all these good things. And they're just making mistakes, and they're just learning, and they're testing boundaries and whatever. And so I thought that was so cool. And I've tried that with my daughter, and it's worked quite well, a few times. Alice, because they're close in age and they're at that don't know how to share phase. And I really liked that. So the next thing is playfulness. So it talks about playfulness. And I do think, again, I'm going to read a whole book. I have a whole book on my wish list about playfulness, because it's hard for me. I see it sort of as a little little bit of a waste of time, which I shouldn't. It's not. It's so important. And it can be used a lot in discipline as well. Just being playful sometimes, just redirecting in a playful way is, instead of a timeout or a harsh consequence, can be just as effective. And they are learning, like they are supposed to be testing these boundaries. And that's important to remember. And so it talks about playfulness and what that can do for us. And it lists a bunch of things from research. I haven't looked at these research articles, but I'm just going to believe them to be true because they sound great. So it talks about increasing endorphins, in the brain, challenging the brain, utilizing memory, decreasing physical pain, increasing the state of your overall well-being, strengthening connections, and boosting your energy, which, I mean, I need all those things. And those are things that come from being playful. So it talks a little bit in this section about, if you want to do this savers routine and you have little children, it gives you like another savers called charms that you can do with your children. This didn't jive with me. I don't know why they can't just do the savers if you really want to get them involved. But, you know, if you're interested in that, I'll just go over them really briefly here. So the first one is creativity. So it's the C in charms is for creativity. So he has a little poem. So I wrote down some of the verses because they were cute. So it says, make a creation. It's what we came to do. What's inside of you. So the next one is health. Health is all about your body. Move it, shake it, and fill it with goodness. Affirmations is the next one. Affirmation is a big word for shouting out who I choose to be. R is for reading. M is for meditation. It's not hard. Simply breathe in deep and clear your mind. Quiet your mind, sorry. Service. When we help others, it makes us feel good too. Lend a hand, clean up your mess, feed the dog, or just get along. So the third parenting skill is perspective. So it says, our brains aren't developed until we're in our mid-20s. And so, like, you know, for the logical and rational part of our brains, it's not developed. So your kid is not going to be rational or logical, you know. Keep that in mind. Have that perspective so that when you are specifically disciplining or teaching, it talks about it being important to teach empathy. So to put ourselves in other people's shoes, but not just that, but to be compassionate, which I think is huge. You know, I was watching this show recently and the guy was like, you know, empathy, some people just have it and some people don't and whatever. And I was like, that's not true at all. Like, you could definitely develop that. You can develop into being a compassionate, loving person. Everybody is born with different strengths, right? And so it might be a strength for them, but it is still something we need to model and we need to teach to them. So it talks about tuning into their personal and emotional, physical and emotional needs, and to just show them, like, model for them basically what you want them to do. So model service, model compassion in your actions. So it also talks a lot about self-control, which is huge. And I would love to, again, develop and work on and have that be a strength, especially for eating for me. Like, there's no self-control there, and it can be developed and it can be worked on. We need to have moderation in all things and have that self-control. So it says in here too that the best thing we can do for our children is to focus on and becoming a better version of ourselves. And so that doesn't take away from us focusing on them. We need to focus on us. We need to be better for them, right? This is cool. It says scientists have found that as long as we experience positivity 5 times more than negativity, then we will remain grateful. These are just some little things that I had in the parenting profiles. I think it's just little snippets of things. We need to work hard to be better. And so that's a good thing to praise our children about, you know, like, instead of saying you're smart, you can say you worked really hard to learn that. Letting go is one of the hardest parts of parenting. As kids become more independent, we have to realize that they're going to have journeys without us, and we have to allow that. So letting go of that control part and letting them be themselves, letting them make mistakes, it is so hard. It is so hard, but it's so important that they learn how to make good choices, I still have trouble making choices because my parents were so that they just didn't let me try. They didn't know enough about teaching themselves. They were protective and scared, and we all feel that way. You know, you want to keep your kids in a little bubble, but you can't. You gotta let them make their own mistakes. Okay, so another thing it says is Unwavering Faith. It has a whole section about this, which I loved. It talks about focus, which I struggle with, I'm not gonna lie. And Unwavering Faith makes you a better person. So it basically talks about when you're focusing on a goal or when you're trying to accomplish a goal, to that there's no other option, that you tell yourself and that you believe there is no other option. That's basically sums up the Miracle Morning Routine. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and please come with me on this journey. Let's become better people. Thanks, guys.